I was talking to a friend this week, and she said something as she was describing her situation with her parents. And she said, "You know that moment when you realize that you're now the adult in the room and it's not them anymore?" And there was this deep grieving that was happening within her as she was talking about needing to become the adult in the relationship for her parents. Many in the sandwich generation actually tell me that it comes as a surprise that they are suddenly the adult in the room. It sneaks up on you. It's not something that you are anticipating or are looking forward to. Instead, it is something that causes deep grief inside of the sandwich generation. As we talked last week about how we are finding ourselves in the middle of this equation that doesn't make sense. We have our aging parents on this side and we have our young children on this side, and we are the equalizer, and suddenly we're the adult in both situations, and that is a really heavy responsibility. When you feel that responsibility for the first time, it can feel like this incredible weight, knowing that it's not just your young children who are counting on you anymore, but also it is your parents. They've always been the adult in your relationship. You called them when you had problems with, your spouse, or you had money problems, or you were seeking some career advice. And suddenly they're calling you for those things, and that's really difficult. When you are carrying that, it is like an invisible weight on top of you as you're simultaneously being pulled in two different directions. So you have the weight of your own career, the weight of your own relationships, the weight of carrying financially the things that you need to do in order to keep your family stable and above water. And now we're adding more. I had a conversation in the hallway with a client the other day where they were talking about how suddenly it just felt like they were unable to keep their head above water. And when you're unable to keep your head above water, panic sets in. For a lot of people, it doesn't just come with the weight of the older generation and the weight of the younger generation and the weight of your own career and your own life on you, but it also comes with conflict with your siblings. This is something we talked about last week, about how a lot of families wait until crisis before they start having the tough conversations, meaning that I get to interact with a lot of people who are in crisis as a family, and it does not bring out the best in each other. It creates an oven where the temperature rises rapidly, and you and your siblings have all of the conflict that you've had in the past. It comes heavy on this singular moment. I liken it to an Instapot. When families enter crisis, what happens is that every fight that the family members have ever had goes into that pot. We add in all of the unmet expectations. We add in hurt feelings. We add in unresolved trauma, and we put it all in this pot and close the lid. That is what crisis does, is it closes that lid. Inside that crucible, what happens is that now we have immense pressure. We have all of this unresolved tension just swirling around in there, and we're applying heat at the same time. As some of us have seen on social media and hopefully never experienced, sometimes the lid comes flying off and embeds itself in the ceiling because there's just so much trauma to overcome in these crisis moments. For some of us in the sandwich generation, we are able to see that that Instapot moment is coming. And we know that there is so much inside of that pot that is unresolved, that when we apply the pressure of our parents aging or some type of crisis in their aging process, we are going to explode as a family. And that is incredibly difficult for the family members who can see it coming. A lot of siblings don't want to look at it, don't want to address it, and really want to pretend like it's not there. But it's really important for those of us who see it to do something about it. We now are in the situation where once you see it, once you recognize it, you are now in the leadership role And that also can feel very, very heavy. In fact, a lot of adult children tell me, I can't believe this is all on me now. When we see the pressure cooker coming, one of the fascinating things is that some of us start looking more closely. We start acknowledging the slips in memory, the little concerns, your parents getting lost, and we start asking them just basic little questions, not the big ones that we talked about last week, but some little ones such as, are you okay? One of the things that our parents will say repeatedly is, I'm fine. And a lot of us take that as a status update. I'm fine means I'm fine, but it's not. What they're doing, like we talked about 4 weeks ago, is that they are hiding the cracks in the system because they don't want to burden you. They know, because it happened in their life, what it feels like to have all of the pressure on you. Our parents are working very hard to protect us and to protect themselves. A lot of the things that I hear as I am working with clients is that families don't want to burden each other. Again, I think that we all know in some capacity that this pressure cooker or Instapot moment is coming, and we're just not sure that our family can withstand the pressure and the heat. So parents hide how they are doing. They hide the cracks, they hide the fact that they keep getting lost. They hide the fact that dad keeps making wrong turns and they end up who knows where. And they're hiding that to protect you. They know that you are at your absolute maximum and they're doing it out of love. That pressure cooker is sitting there basically on a table and everybody knows it's there. They know that the lid is going to close soon and they're trying to prolong that moment for as long as humanly possible. That is when everybody really works very hard to pretend like everything is fine. We pretend as the sandwich generation that one more thing isn't going to send us over the edge. We pretend like our marriage is fine so that we have the capacity to be able to take care of our aging parents. We pretend like there wasn't estrangement decades ago. We pretend like there weren't hurt feelings over something said over Christmas dinner years ago. We all are pretending it's fine. But it's not. This is an unspoken agreement among so many families that I work with, where everybody wants to pretend that we're fine, but we're not fine. We're not fine in our careers. We're not fine financially. We're not fine in our marriages. We're not fine with our kids. There is a lot of pressure. There is a lot of stress, and things are really, really tough right now. And as we are all staring at this Instapot, knowing that it's coming, we are telling ourselves that we can take on more. And the truth of the matter is we can't. As we talked last week about being the equal sign within this algebraic equation, what we discussed is that the first thing that goes is us as the sandwich generation. We are holding our arms wide. We are trying to hold everything up while still getting up and going to a job that is so difficult and paying bills as things get extraordinarily more expensive every single minute. We are trying to keep a smile on our face and give our children the childhood that they deserve. But we in the middle are struggling. The cost of being the shock absorber in the family is not just mental strain, it's also physical strain. So many within the sandwich generation are dealing with their own health problems, which are brought on by massive amounts of stress, anxiety, and just trying to keep everything together when it feels like everything is falling apart. And us in the sandwich generation feel like nobody even sees what we're doing. A couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation with a client and her husband, and she was telling me all of the things that she was doing to hold their family together, all of the struggles that they were going through emotionally, spiritually, financially, with their children, with their personal business, and trying to figure out how are we going to also take care of mom and dad who are failing. It is something where we truly feel unseen. And that's one of the things that I told her. I told her, I see you. I see how hard you're working. And that broke the dam. The tears came. She told me even more about her struggles. That is the moment that we can actually start digging ourselves out of this. Having someone else look at you and say, I see you, breaks our dam of resistance, or the barrier that we have between us and the rest of the world. With another client this last week, we were talking about the emotional tax that comes with being the one person who's holding everything together. It can feel so thankless, so invisible, and so unappreciated by our siblings who might say, oh, well, so-and-so's got it, so I don't have to worry about it. And even though we are all drowning, in fact, most of the siblings are always also drowning, we feel relieved, guilty, but relieved when one of our other siblings steps up and takes the lead in taking care of our aging adults. However, when that default daughter, as it's called on a lot of social media, or the default child is the one who steps in, it causes so much resentment and hurt. Many of them tell me that they were already at maximum capacity, and now they have this acceptance of additional stressors on their lives, and they don't feel like anyone even acknowledges that this is really hard for them. Something I say frequently to a lot of my clients is that you're not overwhelmed. You're just unstructured. And I don't mean that offensively. I don't mean that you're not competent. What I mean is that you don't have the structure to be able to hold you in those moments that feel too heavy. A lot of people that I meet, again, are in crisis. We talked last week that most families skip phase 1, they skip phase 2, and then they don't ask for help until they're into phase 3 and phase 4, and everything is falling apart. It is in that moment that I find that families are really tempted to just take it on and just wing it. We don't wing it in any other aspect of our life. In fact, a couple of years ago, I actually said to somebody, people plan more for a vacation every year than they do their aging process. And that is absolutely crazy to me. We should be planning in the same way that we plan for the financial realities of retirement. We should be planning and stepping forward in creating structure around the years between retirement and death, because those years need the most support. When I meet families in stage 3, a lot of them think that the crisis is ahead of them, and it takes a while for me to reorient them to the fact that the crisis is right here. It is happening right now. It is not a crisis when your parents need to move into an assisted living facility. The crisis actually happened before that. It is the trigger. It is what you allow as a family to overtake you and then cause that need to have that decision happen in order to be able to make that decision to move into that assisted living facility. People don't miss the crisis. They just miss the years before it, where they could set up a system that holds them at that bedside. Many times I encounter families who are in crisis in a hospital room, and they don't have everything put together. And so a lot of families end up, at least one of them, either making phone calls in the room or having to pull themselves up, stop the crying, and go make some really tough decisions outside of the room because they have not already built the structure to hold them and allow them to be emotionally present within that hospital room instead of having to turn into an operator. If you are turning into an operator in a hospital room without any structure, without any plan, and you are having to create the plan on the fly, you've already missed the golden hours before that crisis where you could have stepped into the operator role in a way that is meaningful and doable for your family, and be able to prevent that moment where you're in that room in crisis, where instead you could just sit there and be emotionally present with the people who you love the most. Those of us who are pretty type A and very detail oriented want a system before we have to turn off our emotions in that hospital room and turn on operator mode. That is why I created this system. I don't know any operator who actually manages their business improvised. I don't know any operator who doesn't have a plan in place and who just wings it every single day. Instead, operators are ones who step forward with a plan, they step forward with data, and they step into leadership positions so that they are able to move the entire structure of a business towards productivity. If you weren't improvising, this wouldn't feel like chaos. It would not feel like something that is out of control and that you are woefully and inadequately prepared for. This wouldn't feel heavy. This would just feel like a logical progression through the stages in a way that is meaningful and allows you to honor the people who raised you. Having that gap is a blind side. It is something that is going to come for you, because thinking that aging parents isn't going to happen to you is crazy. Instead, it is coming for you and your family, and you're just sitting on the couch waiting for something to happen. My goal is to get you the actual tools in your hand so that while you're sitting on the couch, you're able to come up with a plan that works for you and your family. Have the tough conversations before crisis. So instead of putting more things into the Instapot, we're taking things out and putting them where they should go. When we put things where they should go, we decrease that pressure that is going to form, and sometimes we can literally dismantle the whole lid off of the Instapot, and we don't have to have pressure at all. The fascinating thing to me is that none of your peers are preparing for this. The operator whose family prepares for this will be light years ahead of their peers, because whether or not you like it, having aging parents derails your career, it derails your business, and it destabilizes your relationship with your spouse and your children. So the operator or the person or the family leader who can actually deal with this beforehand is going to be so far ahead of their peers. So this is the moment when you stop improvising and when you take on the structure that I have helped create to decrease your stress load, unload the Instapot, and dismantle the whole thing so that it doesn't explode. This is where the Living Years protocol begins. Just close your eyes for a second. What would it feel like if you did not have the pressure of your parents weighing on your mind? What would it feel like to know what's coming in their aging journey before it comes? What would it feel like to stand in your peer group and be the only one who's prepared? What would it feel like to finally breathe? That feeling in your body of unraveling, of untying the knots that are in your chest, that can happen. There is a system for it. Go to goldenhouraging.com and look at the system. We've talked about it last week, but within this system, I have the dossier. The dossier contains the entirety of the protocol and the system that can help unravel that knot in your chest. As most operators know, unraveling the knot in your chest and being in a position to move forward starts with data. There's not a lot out there that actually is made for the family unit, but I created the You Are Here assessment. The You Are Here assessment gives you the data that you need to stratify your parents' aging journey into 4 unique categories. These categories or phases are called the steadfast independent, the supported independent, the collaborative partner, and the intensely comforted. Within the pages of each of these individual volumes, you will find all that you need to be able to create the structure, unload the Instapot, and prevent the explosion that you know is coming for your family. This is not about just managing your parents' aging journey. Instead, it is about managing your leadership. And managing your leadership allows you to move forward in your career, in your business, and in your life in a way that is protective of everything that you have built. The 4 phases allow you to stratify your parents into the correct phase of aging. And when you know that, you are able to systematically build a structure for your entire family unit that is proactive, actually decompresses that Instapot, if you will, and gives you the ability to move forward in leadership and honor the family structure that you have created. This isn't just about managing your parents' aging journey. Instead, it is about creating a system that holds up your family unit for generations. Your parents might already be in the supported independent. They might already be in the intensely comforted phase. And what you are finding is that you have missed all of those pre-years where you can do the work to prevent crisis from happening. But you're not too late for your own aging journey. And that's an important piece. This system is not just about trying to bring order to the chaos that is your world as a sandwich generation. It is about protecting your relationship with your children in the future, about protecting their relationship with each other, and allowing you to continue to move forward in a financially stable way so that you can take care of your family generationally. Please tell me it goes out. You are drowning because you're managing a multi-million-dollar aging journey without a structure. And I know most people say, oh my goodness, mom and dad don't have $1 million. But you have to remember that what is kicked in by Medicare, what is kicked in by Medicaid, health insurance, all of those things add up to, truthfully, a multi-million-dollar aging journey. And you're managing it on a whim and a prayer. You're not failing. The system failed you in not giving you the structure to be able to move into operator mode before the crisis.